Let's have a look at what Uranus is like when it's squaring your natal Mercury. This particular series of videos are not timed. They're general teaching videos. So we're looking at the square between Uranus and Mercury. As Uranus squares Mercury, our minds become our very own particle accelerator. We emit original thoughts with the power and speed of a rocket launch, pronouncing daring ideas and developing unique, ingenious perspectives. New thought, brand new ideas, originality. It's a real treasure, and it comes at some cost. We're trained to think in a certain way by society that doesn't want people to do different things and make them uncomfortable. And yet Uranus isn't like that. Uranus is all about making people uncomfortable by bringing in another dimension of realization. It's the awakener. It awakens us to new ideas, to new understandings, which happens very quickly. We're accelerated to a new dimension of thought. Thought is a vibration like anything else, and Uranus speeds that up. It speeds up everything, in fact, but Mercury it speeds up very much more easily than other things. Mercury and Uranus being little brother and big brother according to some astrological teachings, and it seems to check out. But it's very uncomfortable for the mind to become faster. The originality of the thought is wonderful, but the discomfort that we feel when we're having these new thoughts is a measure of how stuck we are in the belief that we've been programmed to hold as some kind of mental security system. It's a real challenge. Acutely perceptive and with a heightened sense of metacognition, we revise what we came to believe was settled. Metacognition. So, knowing, cognition. Meta, above. So we're looking at what we know as if from a third position. We're looking at ourselves on the mental level and checking out our beliefs and our thinkings and our philosophies and understandings of text and that kind of thing from a heightened point of view. And we find that what we thought was true before doesn't really fit anymore. We have to go through that process of changing what was familiar and reassuring, that we understood things, and we have to go through this process, and now we don't. It's to be likened, I think, on a collective level to what happened when computers became popular. Those people of my age had to go through that intellectual revolution. We had to understand that you can do something called copy and paste. And that was so easy. You could duplicate things in a moment. And you could also do Control Z, Control Z, where you made a mistake and you have to undo that. Now our minds were being programmed that way. Whatever mistake you make, it doesn't matter. You can undo it in a moment. Well, we didn't used to think that way. We used to think that whatever you did was undoable. You know, it was said and you can't unsay it. Well, computers changed that. We used to think much more clearly before we wrote, and wrote slowly, and we used the physical body to write with. The hand movement was a part of the Mercury process, and then, figuratively speaking, Uranus squared Mercury, shall we say, in that period in the 90s. That's a metaphor. And we suddenly had to think new thoughts, computer thoughts. We had to understand the world as if it were binary, a series of lights on and lights off in the computer registers as a binary reality. It's either right or wrong, this or that. And that's not what we had known before. And the Uranus square Mercury transit on a personal level is doing that kind of thing to us personally. We're going from not knowing about computers to having to deal with computers really, really quickly. And on the level of mind, our own mind, is we think that the teachings of one religion are right, and then somebody shows us that they're not, and we have to recalibrate all of our attitudes because of that new idea. We seek stimulation beyond reasonable measure, swaying between utter fascination and frustrated boredom, and particularly focusing our attention on speed and innovation. The Mercury speed can go wild, and sometimes you meet somebody who speaks a lot and very quickly, and they just bring in new ideas again and again and again and again. It's just too fast to assimilate. And we can go through that process. It's a kind of temporary madness almost. Your head's on fire, your head's busy working things out and thinking, and you have new ideas all of the time, and it's not really embodied on the Mercury level. It can be very uncomfortable mentally. But it's new, it's innovative, it's original thought. They say that there's nothing new under the sun. Not really true, because even though the makeup of what is continues, the reformulation into different packages of relationship to other things and so on, that's never the same. So with this transit, we have a totally new way of understanding things, and it's a breakthrough in intelligence, it's a breakthrough in awakening, a consciousness, and it stimulates the third eye quite a bit, I would say. Unconventional views are adhered to with boisterous tenacity, or abandoned without a second thought the very next second. Now, I've experienced this quite often, where I have a flash of new insight, and I think, yes, that's it, I want to base my whole world on that understanding. And then a little while later, somebody comes up with some other point of view, or it comes from my head, and I think, oh, okay, ditch that last one, moving on. And we can go through this particle acceleration process by the trial and error agency of life speeding up beyond anything that's comfortable. So what was true is changed to what is true now, and that's changed again to something else which is true. And we're boisterously confident of all of them. It can make for very bad social company. People can't keep up. Disquieting thought spirals or upsetting news may overwhelm ourselves and others, forcing us to re-administer our perspectives and readjust our coping mechanisms to deal with uncertainty and novelty. I like that phrase, disquieting thought spirals. We get lost in this mind energy. The mind isn't grounded, and it's not limited, so we go off on a crazy, ever-increasing spiral of this leads to that, and that leads to something else, and then it doesn't actually ring true eventually. It's not embodied, it's not grounded, and it can be very upsetting to the sense you have of peace and tranquility. It's not a time to meditate, not really. During this time, it may be important to keep in mind that we are not what we think. Our thoughts are like clouds that temporarily dwell in a clear sky. So like I say, it's not really a good time for meditation. Meditation can be metaphorically likened to a clear blue sky, and a cloud that pops into that is lovely, and we can perhaps move meditation into contemplation. You can meditate on a thought if there's only one cloud, but as soon as there's more than one, and if they're racing across the sky, it's very difficult to maintain the unattached, impassive attitude of mind that is able to see the truth. We get confused, therefore. And so the overall sense of Uranus squaring Mercury is genius without grounding, that is very difficult to handle for most people. Most of us can't settle our minds into a peaceful assimilation. What we have to do with Mercury in this case is very quickly understand what we've seen and what we've understood, or of a new idea, and write it down, give it form, and there it is. It's grounded because it's written, and then we can actually allow ourselves a chance to slow the process down. So really the advice with this kind of transit is write it all down, keep a journal, get your thoughts out. Some of them are wonderful and will change your life, and some of them are dangerously beyond our level of comprehension and assimilation, and will fundamentally disturb our peace of mind, even to the point of temporary madness. Well, it looks like madness. It's not really madness, but it's very disturbing and so on to people around us, and in fact to ourselves. And of course it passes, like all things.